right.
Yeah. So,
All right.
welcome, and I'm sure that everyone is zoomed out. We're almost a year and several months into this restrictions, and we hope that you're zoomed in here because we plan a exciting show for you. Charles, I think we have probably one of the biggest crowds we've had around the country in some time.
This is incredible. So, what an audience here! As I looked at the database, the list that went out with the kits, 26 states are represented on this event. So just think about this: we are covering the entire half of the country, including Hawaii. Honolulu's out there.
Like half, like cut like a pie?
No.
Because that's the West Coast, East Coast.
No, they're all over. They're all over.
Okay.
And just so we'll know, aloha out there. It is afternoon. It's 1 p.m. out there, I believe, right now, or a little after 1. So aloha out there.
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, Charles.
Yeah, right. Okay. So listen, I'm really excited. This has been an event that came very quickly to us, and I've been so excited about the opportunity to do this event and to share with this group of folks. And wow, we're finally here.
Well, I thought we were going to do a bourbon tasting. I watched the video. I think we're, some kind of talent show, because between Warren and Greg and Mike, don't be intimidated by the way that those gentlemen were drinking bourbon, because that's not how we drink bourbon. And we encourage you to follow along here, and hopefully that we can teach you as you walk down the aisle of a liquor store and look at the immense amount of bourbon that's on the shelf. You can learn more about what your palate is. So the most important thing I can tell you today is there is no wrong answers in anything that you give here today. Charles, I kind of compare it to ice cream, because if everybody enjoyed vanilla ice cream, it'd be a very vanilla world.
Pretty bland. So I like vanilla. I like chocolate. I like some other flavors, but there's some flavors I don't really care for. That doesn't mean they're bad ice creams. Just they're different. So, and it's the same with the bourbons, whiskeys, if you will. It's really what we're going to hopefully educate and share with you tonight or today. Is about what is it your palate's telling you, and what are your flavor profiles, and what really resonates with you, and what you're going to enjoy. So
it's truly about memorization. Memorization on the types of things that you've tasted in your lifetime, and memorization on the types of things that you've smelled. So my first experience with bourbon, when I was a young man hunting with my father, he handed me a thermos, and it had a bourbon type coffee in it, and it was the nastiest thing I ever put in my mouth. So whatever you do today, listen to Charles. Don't put the thing up to your nose right away, and whatever you do, don't drink it. We're actually just going to wet our palates.
Yes. I just wanted to point out that in the preceding videos there, we're not doing shots. Okay, just get that off. Okay. That's for another show, another day. We're not going to do the shots. But what we're really going to do, and I don't want to tease everybody. Everybody's probably had a really long day at this point, or maybe not. You might be halfway into your day, depending on where you are. But I think we should
Shock the palate.
We should shock the palate. Okay, and I love this. This is a terminology, and we probably have got some folks that are beginners in their journey, and they may be experienced, but it doesn't really matter where you are on your bourbon journey. The very first sip is always just going to be really truly that. It's a shock to the palate. And so here's what you want to do is you want to get I want you to just take just a number one. We're going to use number one as the thing, shock the palate. I want just to get just a little small amount. I want you to make sure to get your entire palate nice and wet, coat the whole tongue. Hold it there for a moment. But here's what will help anybody, and it helps me. Always, when you take that sip of, especially in the neat, when you're drinking neat, and a lot of people are not used to drinking neat, is that ethanol. It's gonna grab you. If you, as soon as you make that sip and swallow, if you will just just blow out, just and exhale, that will dissipate that first initial burn. And a lot of folks, this is where they get, if you're not very familiar or you're not a bourbon drinker and never have liked it, it's that initial burn that turns a lot of people off. So this will help with that. So just a small amount, make sure you coat the entire palate, and then as you swallow, just exhale and just blow that out. And we're not going to really try to analyze this yet. We just need to get your senses woke. We need to waken up everything, right?
So as you're doing that, and again, all we're doing is just wetting the tongue. Once you look in front of you, you've got a card, a tasting card. What we're sampling here tonight is a how do I say this, Charles? It's a hidden? No, it's a what kind of pours are we having here tonight?
All right, this is blind. I always try to put these things together with some thought in this thing as to where people are. I understand there's going to be, if I knew everybody was full experience, I would select 3 pours in a certain way. If there were mid-range, a little bit different, but knowing that there's going to be a wide gamut, from people that don't drink bourbon at all to experience, I want to try to pick something in a range that's going to appeal to everyone, and it might even surprise. I always love some of these things because sometimes I get into these in certain picks, and it's like, oh yeah, I never get that because it's just not, that would never be a good pour, right?
I love the terminology, like blind mice, right?
Blind mice.
So you have a tasting card in front of you, and we encourage you to take notes. Let me give you a heads up. Charles will give you every one of the answers as we move forward. We will go through each and every bottle, tell you some of the subtleties of those bottles, and during that, Charles will also talk about the sensory that goes on and the tasting wheel that you also have with you.
And the flavor wheel. So we have the flavor wheel here. So this is another tool for you to use. A lot of times you'll be smelling something, you'll be tasting something, and I'm like, man, I know this is a certain fruit, and you can't really pick it out. This is something to help you visually as you look at it. So you've got the different areas. You can go to wood, the grains, the aromas, the spices, the fruit, and the florals. Uh-oh, what happened here? I don't know why we got muted. That was interesting. We just muted by ourselves. We didn't touch anything. Are we okay now? We can. All right. Sorry about that. I don't know why that muted. Wow. Anyway, so we got the flavor wheel, and this is a great tool for you to use as we're going through these steps with both the palate and nosing of these bourbons and whiskeys, right? So.
Yep. So as you've tasted the first one, don't know how it settled on your palate. With me, it was a little shocking. And so let's go ahead and get a second sip.
Small sip, and want you to be able to tell the difference between the first and the second sip of this. So now we've got the shock out of the way, right? So curious to see, like, what's the second sip maybe, and maybe there's a flavor that's hit the palate that maybe you're picking up. Anyone? I see your chat. See, I don't want to. Getting a little vanilla. Some vanilla, perfect. I get a hint of the vanilla. This is very mild on the palate. Finishing sort of towards the middle to the back area. Okay. And I'm going to get a third small sip
I'm
because
doing the third.
Yeah, you're all right.
I'm not going to wait on you.
You ain't way on.
And they're not going to wait on you very much either. I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm picking up a lot of things. And anybody, what you picking up on your third little sip? And if you'll leave a little bit in the glass, we'll come back to it. Anything?
Yeah, I'm getting a little woody.
So,
We're not that kind of woody, but
okay.
I love it. Well,
Jose, I can't believe you said that. That's recent.
Yeah.
Just popped in to say hi.
oh my God,
What did you say?
Yeah.
We have a youngster's present. Oh my God.
so our flight today is,
that's what it says on the card. See, Woody, it says-
yeah. I'm going to get us off this subject as quick as we can. So let's go ahead and talk about our flight tonight and some of the bourbons that have been chosen for you. So we have 3 of them. They are all in a blind tasting, none of them in any particular order. And later we'll have a little contest. No, Charles, we don't. That's the middle one. We're not going to do that one. We're gonna talk about this one first, Charles.
Okay. I want to talk about the blue one.
No, we're not talking about.
Hey, right. So as I talked before, I wanted to get something across the board and sort of representative of different areas of the bourbons and whiskeys, right? So Maker's Mark is a big brand. Everybody's familiar with Maker's Mark, okay? This is a little bit different. This is their standard. This is their standard mash bill. This is what's called a wheater. So when you get into the bourbons, you typically there's 2 mash bills really basically that happens. There's a mash bill that's predominantly corn. In bourbon, it has to be at least 51% corn. But the secondary grain is the key. This one happens to be a wheat. Maker's is all wheated, what they call wheated bourbons. So this one, the mash bill is a 70% corn. The 16% of it is wheat, and then a 14% in the malted barley. The malted barley, as if you kind of talk to the distillers, it's really the catalyst that really drives some fermentation. It provides some flavor. But this is a little bit different. This is the standard Maker's Mark mash bill. But what they did is instead of bringing this down to the normal makers, they came out with this 101. I've really enjoyed this. This came out late last year. This was a bottle that they were was only available in the airport type things, in the gift shop kind of scenarios. And I guess it got really popular. And so they said, oh, you know what, we're going to bring this out. And I found this late last fall at our local guy down here at a liquor store. And I tried it. And right now I've probably been through 5 bottles of this particular one. On this one, you're going to get some of the characteristics. If you are a bourbon person, you're going to get the maker's profile, really, the traditional maker's profile. The 101 is going to give you a little more complexity on the palate. You're going to get, even at 101, though, from a wheat grain, the wheat in there, it's going to be a little bit softer than a rye blend, okay? So 101, and then the other one that really got me when I opened this for the very first time, for me, and you may or may not get this, I get a big cherry note, okay? Things to look for in this one, in this tasting for tonight is there a cherry note profile that really jumps out at you? You're still going to get your vanillas and caramels, but the cherry to me has been the driver, and I love cherry. You get just a hint of cocoa and chocolate in there mixed in at the end, but this is in tonight's selection, and this is the Maker's Mark 101. Is wheated
Corporate bourbon.
It's corporate.
Corporate bourbon. So everyone's had an opportunity to shock your palate. Everyone's had 1 or 2 little sips of number 1. And so what's happened is your palate has been shocked and prepared. You actually have sensory on the back of your throat that actually reaches up into your nose. And now what we'd like to do is, Charles, let's go into the smelling of it. And if you've been part of a wine tasting before, we're not going to bury this into our nose. We're going to sneak up on it, and we're going to take a little sniff of it.
So we're going to nose a little bit of number one, okay? Yes, as Troy mentioned, when we do some of the events and live events, a lot of folks will get really, really close. I like to tell everybody, start with the glass probably 6 to 8 inches away, and come up slowly, and get to an area where the vapors are really coming to you. The closer you get, what you really get is the really big notes, okay? You get the strong ones. So if there's a big vanilla, and then as you get closer, you really are really getting a lot of the alcohol, the ethanols. But if you kind of get a few inches away to where the vapors are coming to you, you'll be able to get those very lighter notes, right? What are you getting? You're pointing at maple syrup over there. What the heck's going on?
I'm trying to help people out a little bit to show them what I'm picking up, because actually what I'm picking up on this, Charles pours this stuff prior to me coming into the room. So just like you, I'm tasting this stuff blind. So I get to kind of have a little contest like you guys are. And it's an ongoing joke with me and Charles on which is which. And I don't usually win, but I try really hard.
Yeah. So in the nosing, so you're coming up nosing. I'm going to give you a quick technique here on the nosing. It's something I learned a few years back with a friend Jeff up in Kentucky. Everybody you realize you have a dominant eye, left or right. You have a dominant hand, left or right-handed, right? What a lot of people don't realize is you have a dominant nostril. And we're going to prove that to you right here. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to bring your glass up and sort of come to the right side and get 3 or 4 couple inches away and smell over there. And you say, okay, I got that. And now take the glass over to the left side and do that. And what you will notice is you'll get 2 very different smells. You should get something and I like to call this as the Jack and the Jill. And I had a room full of ladies at a recent tasting. We had more ladies than we had men, and I said, well, I call it the Jack side is the more dominant, the dominant side. She said, well, wait a minute. And I said, okay, fine. So on your dominant side, you're going to pick up those big notes. So if there's a big maple flavor, you're going to get that. If you get a big caramel, vanilla, the oakiness, that's typically bigger. The lighter side, and I always use the lighter side, and I call that Jill. That's going to be those delicate notes. So maybe there's a little bit of baking spice hidden back in there, right? And so that's a really good one. And I'll just say this. I see there's some ladies on the call.
So I'm looking at the screen. I'm seeing the guys that are smelling and smelling. So guys, keep smelling it and keep trying, because the ladies got you beat hands down. Like, we've done this for years and years, and ladies have far better sensory. And for those of you that don't have girlfriends and wives and know when you walk in the house and they go, where have you been? You should know better.
Yeah. So the Jack and Jill, you can do the Jack and the Jill thing, and then you can come back to the middle and bring it all back together, right? And so it's a little technique. And I can tell you, look, when I get something that's new to me, if I get something brand new, I like to sit down and pour that thing neat, and I will nose something for a good period of time before I even get a sip. And I'll give you one more tip, and you guys that are experienced bourbon drinkers, you'll get this one too. I know you've heard this one. The other one is bring the glass up and breathe in through the nose and the mouth together, and let all the vapors come right through your nostrils and over your tongue. And you will actually taste this before you ever get your first sip. If you practice this at home, and on just pour something, if you practice it, it's something that we do. Well, we do it all the time, but Sensory Fridays is
almost every Sensory Friday. So, having said that, we've really tasted and smelled our first bourbon, and let's get some feedback on some of the smells that we've picked up and some of the tastes that we picked up. Anybody?
Mike's trying to unmute over there. He's trying to jump in.
I'm not going to say a word anymore.
You're dangerous. No, I know the maple came out like the third taste came out tremendously in there.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Anyone else?
Looks like in the chat, Tim Marin says the vanilla.
Vanillas, yes.
Yeah, agreed.
Perfect. Perfect.
Awesome. And remember that everyone's palate is different. There's no correct or wrong answer here. So just chime in. You know, if you come in here with something like banana, you know, that's not out of the common, or even like a polenta, that's not out of the common of
The polenta. Yeah, you always like the polenta story.
I do like that story.
Yeah, because I don't know the
Yeah.
plantains. I don't know that.
No. Let's get into the
right.
second one.
Let's go second one.
Second one, let's get a little.
Wait a minute.
What we
Time out. You're jumping the gun here. Slow down.
Slow down.
All right. Here's what we need to do before we get over to number 2 to do tasting. So you guys got the nice little bottle. I encourage you to take a little rinse. We're going to kind of clean the paddle a little bit.
Hmm?
No, don't do that.
What?
Yeah. The other thing you can do to help reset your smellers is you smell the back of your hand or somewhere on the body and not the underarm, okay? Okay. So it helps to just sort of reset. And we're going to get into number 2. We got a number 1. Hopefully you got a little bit left over there. And because we're going to come back and play with that. So I want to get up to number 2 before we actually take a sip of this one. I'm going to start with the nosing. Let's start with the nosing of this. And then you'll be able to compare number 2 to number 1. Some very different profiles here.
And again, using your dominant and non-dominant.
So doing the Jack and Jill. Doing the Jack and Jill, and then actually breathing through the nose and the mouth.
So we typically don't blurt out what we're picking up. I'm not going to blurt out because I want to hear from you guys. Just as we're smelling, blurt straight out.
And this one's just really, after it's had a little chance to air out, I think it's the one thing that I did learn from one of the distillers. I was up at Bardstown Bourbon Company, and I'm doing a little tasting with Steve Nally up there, and I was doing the thing, and I was swirling around. He said, "Charles, what are you doing there? What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I don't swirl, agitate." He said, "Actually," he suggested to me, he said, "Let the juice be still." The agitation, all it does is it really throws up the ethanols, and you're just overpowering that. So really to really just let it be still, and let the vapors and let the bourbon speak to you, right? Let it come to you. And I noticed that's something you see a lot of folks do. Wine tasting, it's a habit that I've always had, and I thought this is a master distiller with umpteen years as a master distiller. I said, you know what? He probably knows what he's talking about.
Listen, you're talking too much.
All right.
So we have
Taste.
to sip.
Sip.
Sip. Please,
right.
sip.
Take your first sip of number 2. Okay, here we go.
Just a light little sip. It's not a shock to palate, but it is, now that your palate has been positioned to be able to pick up some of those flavors, you should be able to pick up flavors right away and jump right in here. What are you picking up?
I'm sorry, on the chat, we have Casey says it's floral, Kyle says it's more woody, this blend. We've got smoky, a lot of smoky
Carve.
spice, coffee,
Yeah.
vanilla.
Good.
Awesome. So we have some pretty good
Man.
palates here.
So I'm not saying anything. I'm listening to all of your, and I'm just like, yep. And I'm very hesitant. Again, we don't like to share like what because as soon as I say something, everybody on the call, yeah, I got that. So I love it. I love the good feedback. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Very good. What's your initial reaction between 1 and 2? I just want to go there right quick. It's like a favorite? All right.
Welcome to technology.
Technical difficulties. Hey. All right.
Right, so-
No, I want to talk about this one.
All right. So here, you hold this one. And I'm gonna put that one over there.
You're not going to let me talk about that one.
We're not gonna let you talk about that.
All right.
Right?
Got it. All right. Heaven Hill Quality House. This is old style bourbon. Okay. This is traditional old style bourbon. This is an 80 proof. Okay. 80 proof. This is a mash bill, which would be the other side of this. So we talked a little bit ago with the makers, with the wheated. The secondary grain here is a rye. So this is a 70% corn. So now both of these, Maker's Mark and Heaven Hill, both in a 70% corn category. Or, I'm sorry, 78. I'm God, my brain here.
They are all. Listen to me.
10%.
I did some research before we did this. They are all COVID good.
All right.
Per the CDC
Yeah.
on the proof.
Okay.
All right. Just to let you know.
All right, so the secondary grain in this one is a rye. So this is a rye blend in the mash bill, okay? And then the malted barley. This is an 80 proof. So we got 101 proof and now an 80 proof. Typically on this one, it's very traditional in your flavor profile. You're going to pick up some oakiness. You're going to pick up some vanilla. You're going to pick up a little light caramel. This is our lowest proof of the 3 tonight. That may be an indication to help you with your notes right there, okay? So as you're tasting what your proof levels. And this one, again, this is I guess, just a great sipping all around traditional bourbon. It's not going to be like some of the brands out there, which I call with a harsh burn. This is it's just very easy on the palate. I think it's a great entry point for someone that's maybe just beginning the bourbon journey. I think you're also going to find this just from a great sipping standpoint, is this is one that you absolutely can just pour over the rocks and over a big ice cube and throw a splash of ginger ale in it. It's going to be great for a summertime, actually, just a refresher. So that one is traditional vanillas, light vanilla, some caramel, maybe a light, and you might get some. Well, I better not give away too much because I'll give away the whole answers.
Dude, you got to stop talking so much.
Is that 2?
Right? No. So
All right.
we have done number 2.
No, wait a minute. I'd only have 1 sip here.
Because you're talking too much.
Okay.
Right? So I've been tasting number 2. They've been tasting number 2. Right? So what are you picking up on number 2?
This is.
Anything?
I think it's got a little bit of a spice that could be a rye.
Right. So where is that setting on your palate? So we talk about the palate and about your tongue and the different things that your tongue is picking up. Where exactly is it sitting? Is it forward? Is it to the back? Is it mid-tongue? And we talk about where does it sit on your palate?
So Toby's got back of the palate. I see.
Back
that
of the palate?
Yeah, a little bit back.
Well, in respect of Warren, and I know that he runs the Central Division, he probably understands what a trigger finger is. Trigger finger, yeah. He knows.
Trigger finger?
Right. And then, Mike's from, Ohio, so he knows what a booger finger is. Right? No?
I know where you're going.
There you go. So listen, we'd like to maybe talk to you a little bit about the Century. And like I said earlier, the CDC said that, we're all good with COVID here. And we hope that you've not used a trigger finger. And
Yeah.
better yet, we hope you've not used your booger finger, at least not lately.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the parts of the palate, the tongue, if you will. I want to show you and talk about. So sometimes when you really think about where the bourbons are finishing, it's got a lot to do with what the flavors are, what the sweetnesses are, or sours or salties, that where it plays on your tongue, and we'll talk about this. So here's what we're going to do. This is a fun little exercise. Use your trigger finger if that's the trigger, or if it's the other finger, we use that. But here's what we're going to do. I want you to take that and stick it in and get a little bit on your fingertip, right? And we're going to get a little bit on fingertip. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to tap right to the tip. Just wet the tip of your tongue and that little area. So right at the very tip.
Don't be scared.
And what you're going to get there, tip, is where it is.
You went to the grocery store with no mask on. Come on.
Right.
Put it on your tongue.
So right on the tip. And what you're going to get there, that is the sweet part of the tongue, right? Sweetness, when you think about as a bourbon, or if you're drinking something, if it's finishing very forward, that's typically indication of a sweetness profile for you. So that's in the very tip. So when you touch that, this one here, it's like candy. When I touch my tip of the tongue, I'm gonna keep doing that.
And I'm going to clear my palate.
So right on the tip. So that's number one. Number two area, left or right-handed, I'm not sure, but it's right on the front edge, but at the front third, if you will, on the side. So we're going to get a little bit, and I'm going to touch it, and it's right on the front side. Don't just stay right in the front. Okay, that area, right in there, right behind the tip of the tongue on both sides of your tongue, that's some saltiness area. So the salty just comes in there, right?
And if
Sour.
you're not picking up anything on this, go immediately tomorrow morning, get a COVID test, because you can't taste.
Yeah, you lost your sense of taste, right? So the saltiness, so sweet, the salty. You're going to move back towards the back corners, if you will, back in the jawbone area, and you'll touch that area over there on the side of the tongue, right on the side. And that, typically, when you get you're tasting and you're getting stuff and the flavor seems to be hanging right back in here in the jaw area, that's really an indication of sour. This is the sour area for the palate, okay? So if you're sipping it, and sort of the flavors are sort of sticking right here. I know you've had them before, and this just sort of sits right there in your jaws and your cheeks. That's usually an indication of sourness. You really don't know that it's sour, but it's where it's residing. 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth area. And so this one is this is the last area we'll do, and it is really straight back. But please don't gag yourself, but straight back in the back of the middle, as far back as you reach. Just rub some back there at the very back. And that area back there is, if you get stuff that hangs back there, that's really bitterness. That's where bitterness resides, in the very back area. So that gives you some idea as you're doing some tastings, as the flavors are sort of, where are they at? They're staying sort of here, or are they coming forward? I'm getting sourness. Okay, this is more of a sour. This is more of the sweetness. The more forward it finishes towards the back, you're getting some bitterness. Okay, yeah. Those are just some tips there. And
just like Charles proved to you that you have a dominant and a non-dominant nostril, I'm going to prove to you the parts of your palate. So we want to take number 2, right? And what I'd like to do with number 2 is just take a little bit. Again, we're just going to wet our tongue, but we're going to hold it over to the right side of our mouth. Don't let it go back and forth, just to the right side.
And then swallow it.
Charles, every time I do that, it's the nastiest thing in my mouth.
You really need to, I love that exercise. It really proves you really want to try. You need the entire palate to be involved, right? You can't do just half, right? You can't go halfway with it. So, So number 2,
take a little bit of water.
Yeah, let's rinse off, and let's let's get to number 3. We're going to talk about my bottle.
Yeah. So a little bit of that. Look, you want to smell it? Yep, we're good. So Charles, I'll let you talk about your bottle.
Is it my turn now?
It's your turn.
Really?
It is your
my
turn.
gosh.
It is your turn.
This,
Hey guys, you do realize if we're sticking our fingers in our mouth at a bar, we're never getting served anything else.
this is why we do this on the live, on the virtuals, right? Yeah. This is exercise for home. Don't try this out in the bars, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I really wanted to make this event a little bit special, and I'm going to talk about this bottle. This is a bottle. It's called Down by the Stream. You will not find this anywhere. This was a special blend that I put together a couple of years ago with my friend up in Kentucky, and this is a blend that I blended. Went to his distillery. This is a blend from 3 barrels. I chose from different percentages from all 3. What you guys got a sample of was one of 24 bottles that were produced, and I think I went to my shelf and there's probably 3 bottles of this left. This was a very unique. This is 124 proof. Okay, so there's not going to be any doubts, I don't think, as to what when you kind of compare this across the board. A flavor profile, and it was really to my profile and my palate and what I enjoy. But I from Whiskey Tango Charlie, I know that I have a lot of folks out there, so I try to hit something that I thought would be very interesting to about anybody.
Mm-hmm. And Mike too. Mike, this is about you too.
Yeah. This one was very interesting. This is your bottle may have contained a little bit of a char in it. That might be a little. This is an unfiltered stuff. This is unfiltered. This actually came out of the barrel. We talk about some of the barrels, 101, and these are all proof down from barrel. This is 124 proof. I only took this down 2 points. This came out when I tested it was 126. And this one, I think you're going to find sometimes it has great hints of butterscotch in there. So that's all I'm going to say about that one, because I could talk on and on about it.
Awesome.
Less talking and more drinking. That's what I saw somebody tell me.
So at the end of the day, we've got 3 samples here. We need to be.
Yeah.
We're getting down towards the last 10 minutes, 12 minutes.
Ah.
And what are you guys picking up on the nose on number 3?
I hint of grass in the aroma. Wow, love it.
Sweetness. It's very sweet.
Very sweet. I like
Sweetness.
it. So we typically use the 18 to 21 times. We don't do that in bourbon because usually you're not standing if we do that. So we have 3. Uh-oh. So one of the ladies here is like, you took too much. Did you? Right? So Charles does it very often. So we're able to see a lot of the people, and thank you so much for turning your cameras on. So Charles very commonly makes a mistake, and I want you to know that you are with royalty today. Charles is a participant in the World Bourbon Championships, and he finished in the top 25. Actually, top probably 10. Yeah, were you in the top 10?
Yeah.
Top 10, right, in the world.
Yeah.
Right? And he still makes the mistake of when he takes a sip, he breathes in.
Yes. Yes. It's very important. That's a great, is take that sip and always, and it's hard, just that puff out. Puff out. So, I took a sip of number 3, and I think many of you have got a little sip of number 3 at this point. So feedback on that. Impressive. I see. What are you getting on the palate on number 3? Anybody a dominant, a flavor? Boy, you're spelling.
No, it's
I
not
can't take
alcohol
you.
abuse. It is not alcohol abuse.
Okay.
Trust me.
I can't take you anywhere.
Okay.
Caramel.
Caramel? Like it?
Yes.
That's some flavor I can't figure out.
It's a very sweet.
So is it a flavor or is it a finish? Because there's a very distinct difference between the initial taste and then something that lingers within your palate.
The finish, I can't tell what it is.
I love it. I love it. So, if I were to ask you, and this is okay, it's no right.
Yeah.
So, from a 1, 2, or 3 perspective, is there a favorite in the group? What would be your favorite? I got a clove. Now, see, I wasn't going to say that. Is that a clove? And that could be in a butterscotch. I like that. Okay.
All right?
So 1, 2, or 3. Is there something that you like about either one of those that kind of sticks? Number 3 is a.
Number 3, just hold your fingers up. 1, 2, 3.
Somebody's getting a little almond. Wow.
Oh, the ladies are number 3.
Number 1.
All right?
Oh man, this is awesome. Awesome. 3 there. Cool. All right. So
Any one of your bourbons tonight goes delicious with ginger ale or ginger beer. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to mix ginger beer or ginger ale with any bourbon that you see fit, except for, of course, Charles's blend, because he'll get offended.
Yeah, that's okay. So, how much time we got? We got a couple minutes.
9 minutes.
9 minutes. We've got time. Does everybody have? Okay, we're in number 3. Let's just use number 3. Let's use number 3. So we have these fancy special Whiskey Tango Charlie water dropper bottles here. I know y'all don't have these in your kit, but here's what we can do. I want you to take, if you can, put a little bit of water in your bottle cap. And what I want you to do is just put a drop of water in your number 3 glass.
Yeah.
And I want you to show you what happens when we lower that proof just a smidgen.
Right, and I'm kind of trying to show him here, Charles.
Yep.
And actually, I ended
Yeah,
up
maybe
with,
2 drops. That's okay. It's okay.
2 or
This is just a fun time.
and
and
you can swirl it around.
And just give it a little swirl because you want that water to kind of mix in.
Even though
And then-
Steve Nally, one of the best,
Yeah.
right, master distillers in the world, told you not to swirl it, Charles.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
We won't tell Steve.
That changed the flavor a lot.
Now, wow.
Mm-hmm.
What you will find is I really enjoy this exercise. And if you really are in the bourbons, you drink a lot of neat, this is a great exercise I love to do when I get something new. I've sat down and I've done some sip, 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 and nose, nose, nose. And I'm really trying to understand what's in this, what's the flavors, what am I getting from this? I like this exercise of adding that little drop of water, and this tells me if this is one that I can throw an ice cube in, and it's either going to be really nice or it destroys the flavor profile. And you can do this exercise almost on, well, you can do it on every single one. And every now and then you will do this exercise and the flavor profile gets flat and it just annihilates everything. Most cases I found, and especially in number 3, I think everybody's sort of shaking their head. I think you're going to find that little drop really opened that up and really took it to a whole other level. So all we've done with that is we've added just a drop of distilled water. We've lowered that proof just a little bit, and we've allowed that to open up. And you get that a lot if you're a Scotch, if you do Scotches. You know, you get that a lot with the Scotch with just a splash of water that it just opens those things up. Same thing with the bourbons. So I'm just curious, what was the dominant after the drop hit? in number 3. I think it was like, wow, really bright. Was it?
Definitely that butterscotch that somebody mentioned before for me.
I thought the butterscotch came out even more with the water.
Yeah, it really did.
So as we proof those bourbons down, and what we mean by proofing them down is, a cube of ice or maybe some water, we can actually get the true essence of that and how it really sets on your palate. So again, we encourage you to try that exercise and truly try any of the exercises that we shared with you today with clients and or friends. Family works very well also. We want to thank you for taking time out of your day. The Express Data people have graciously sent you out a kit that you are welcome to keep. The 3 glasses, the flavor wheel, and the tasting card. Feel free to use that in any bourbon. Ladies, it's rum and vodka too, by the way. And you can use that as we move forward with anything that you do. And we're getting to the exciting part of the show where we can talk about which one of these 3 bottles are in which one of the 3 glasses. And then when we're done here, everyone has stayed on board, and our friend Mike Hogue is going to go ahead and do a drawing, and someone today is going to win a 5th of bourbon, a very good 5th of bourbon. So if you do not collect that, Mike, feel free to send that down to us, brother.
Yeah. All right. So you've had a little bit of taste. We've kind of went through the whole thing. It's kind of like getting down the reveal point here. So, right?
Right.
So
favorites first. So 1, 2, or 3.
Favorite. Just everybody do finger.
We got 1. We got 3. We got 2.
1. 3, 3, 3, 3,
2,
1.
yeah.
1.
Oh, so
1, 1.
not
3,
a lot
3,
of
3,
2s,
1.
but 3s.
Wait a minute. I have to scroll over. Wait a minute. Let me get over to mine.
Oh, hang on.
Wait a minute. There's a whole other screen there. 3, 3, 3s,
forget we
3s,
got-
3s, 3s. Wow.
We've got over 50 people,
So-
and thank you so much for staying on.
So 3 looks like the dominant, sort of, and a 1. Not so many on the 2s. Not too many on the 2s.
That's awesome. So let's go to bourbon number 1
number 1.
and talk about what number 1 is. So of the 3 bourbons that you see before you, the Maker's Mark 101, the Down by the Stream, and the
Heaven Hill.
that is a Heaven Hill. Why did we give them Heaven Hill? Because that is a very rare bottle. You can't get it just anywhere anymore.
Yeah, well.
So yeah. By the way, if you look this bottle up, you guys are probably some of the last people to drink this particular bottle of bourbon. So feel privileged in that. And
So what's number 1? Which bottle was number 1? Anybody want to make a guess?
Makers.
Makers?
Bakers are the one.
Makers?
It was Maker's Mark 101.
Wow. 1, 2.
Fingers,
Quality House. I saw Quality House.
it's number 1.
Interesting. Lots of makers. I saw a right answer in that
I did.
chat that popped up.
I did see the right.
I saw
answer.
I saw one correct answer. One correct answer. I don't know who it was. It just popped up. So number 1. Da-da-da-da.
Heaven Hill.
The Quality House.
Right.
You see, that was one that had some rye.
This one is a rye. Yes, this is 80 proof. This is very deceiving because it's only the 80 proof. So you'll get a lot of the vanilla, light vanillas, light of caramel, a little bit of oakiness, but this is a 3-year. This is a 36-month. Okay? So very soft on the palate. So it's very deceiving when you think about when I'm talking about the wheat and the softness on the palate. This one, it's a fun sipper, right? It's a fun sipper, right?
All right. Last one we have. So we're going to take this one off the table, and we have 2. So, what is number 2? Number 2.
Makers.
I didn't hear it.
Makers.
Even the dog said makers.
Even the dog said makers. So you are correct. That is the 101. 101 proof, the weeded, and just as a good solid. I think you guys would enjoy that one. And this one, I love it that the majority of people held up 3 fingers. This one, this is mine. So thank you. I did pretty good if I got the majority of folks on the number 3. So that was down by the stream, and this was a fun one to do. So
So at this time we want to bring our friend in, Mike Hogue, and Mike has collected everyone's name, Mike, and we need to do some kind of drawing and show us what we're giving away.
If you can see it, which camera am I on? I got two laptops right here. It is a very nice Lux Row bourbon. Which one are we showing?
go full screen.
Go full screen with Mike.
All right, so if we're full screen, then it's on this one.
Yeah. So just to let you know, Lux Row has just been purchased, but Lux Row is a extraordinary good distillery.
I had a fun time with Lux Row. I visited there back in the fall. My first visit with their distillery up there in Kentucky, and got to know touring it. And then right after they get right after that, what the big announcement, they just got bought by MGP. Now owns Lux Row. So, but they're committed to quality, and I love their stuff. I've got a couple of bottles I brought back. So, lucky winner here, Mike. Oh, you got to do the drawing, man.
So, question: Are you able to answer a couple of the questions we saw on that people had before we get to this?
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, because Naomi, weren't there a couple questions that I saw on here? Like, do you have a favorite that is like your go-to bourbons?
What is the very best bourbon there is?
Hold on a second. So Charles and
No, I didn't ask that. I asked,
Charles and I would like to
favorite?
answer that. So we are executive bourbon stewards. What that means is that and $4 won't get you a Starbucks. How about that, right? So we dabble in this profession all day, every day, and we continue to train our palates every day, all day. And so, Charles, what is the best bourbon?
So the closer up this thing is the very best bourbon there is very simple. And I learned this. At many years ago. I'm at a what is this guy back here in the background? This is crazy.
His dad.
Oh, I love it. Birthday boy. So I'm on a distillery tour back in the day, and a gentleman has taken me around on the tour. I'm at Buffalo Trace. I'm doing the tour. I didn't know. I mean, I was young in this thing. We get back to the tasting room. We're tasting. And I'm mesmerized by the gentleman that's been leading this tour for me, for our group, right? I was mesmerized, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is not just a tour guide kind of deal, right? And so we're standing in the tasting room, and we're sipping, and he looks at me, and he points, and he said, "Sir, what is the very best bourbon there is?" And I'm like, okay, I'm standing in Buffalo Trace. I sampled Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace, and Blanton's. And if I say anything beyond that, I'm like, I'm dead, right? And I'm like, and he says, "Sir, let me help you out here." And I love this. And he picks up his glass and he said, "Folks, the very best bourbon there is the one in your glass that you're sharing with friends right now. And my tour guide, and I had no idea at the time, some years later, if you've watched the movie Neat, the documentary called Neat, his name is Freddie Johnson. He's a third generation gentleman from Buffalo Trace. So I was standing in front of bourbon royalty. So, folks, that is it. The best there is in your glass, sharing with friends now. Cheers.
Take it over, Mike.
Cheers, guys. All right. So now that I'm out of bourbon in here, so basically I got everybody and hopefully you're on the call because I'm going to call the name and you better be out there because you got to say you're out here or you don't, or we pick again. Mario Rodriguez. Are you there?
Go to participants. Participant. What?
Is Mario out there?
One second time mute, then you move on.
All right. Somebody's got to make sure Mario knows that he did not win.
I don't think we started with our 60.
All right. Well, hold on. I dropped a few. Unlucky folks. That would not work because you would still end up, it would go to the address on file. Jamie? How do you Ascolia? I don't know how to say that. From Argent? Wow. All right.
There are still 48
Who did not stay
participants
on? Oh, now this one is going to be difficult because I know he's not on here, but he said it. He sent a person for him.
No.
Joe Hallman. Didn't somebody show up? Did he show up? Who was it? He put in his proxy? I forget who it was.
No proxy.
Oh. Wow. I know. All right, this person I know is on the phone, on the call. Somewhere in Texas, if that narrows it down. Becky Reed. Congrats, Becky. She is. I see her. I see her. I see you, Becky.
Close us
All right.
out, Mike.
Well, I don't know if I'll take this to end, but I want to first thank Charles and Troy. They did a good job. Hopefully everybody on the phone had a little bit of fun and had learned a little bit about bourbon. So hopefully, I could, but no. But here's the thing. I will say, anytime you're in Cincinnati, come on in because they are available for anybody that shows up at my bar. So thanks everybody, and then also if you're at the show tomorrow, if you haven't stopped by our booth, make sure you do, our virtual booth, because you got to come in the Zoom room, and we're giving away 2 other bottles too. So thanks everybody.